Baseball Network. We had another great week of the Bears Winter League. Some very good games, but some very decisive results for the Pinstripes. Did not drop a game this weekend. 3-0-1. A great week for the Pinstripes. I feel like every single week has been kind of back and forth for both teams, but this week was all Pinstripes for the most part. We've had some close games. I think 3 of the games were close, I believe. But Pinstripes ain't able to come out on top. Let's go ahead and start with the 12-13U game. This was a tie, and it was the first BWL history 0-0 tie ball game. And if you remember the pitching matchup from last week, maybe an unlikely source. ZZ Garcia versus Nick Byrne in a 0-0 tie. Unbelievable. KJ, I know we talked about this on BBN After Dark, but I mean, I know you had high expectations for Nick, and I think I did too as his pitching coach, but I don't think even you could have predicted 3 shutout innings in a 0-0 tie ball game. Give me your thoughts on Nick Byrne's fantastic outing to keep this one tied against ZZ Garcia.
Yeah, and I thought Nick didn't even look his best. I mean, he was struggling throwing some walks, but every time he threw strikes, no one could hit him. I mean, when he was in the zone, guys weren't hitting him. He threw some walks, but he also racked up a good amount of strikeouts, and it's just getting more consistently throwing strikes. And I think Nick Byrne showed, man, when he's in the zone, he can be one of the best pitchers.
Yeah, and anytime you can avoid getting a loss with ZZ on the mound for the other team, I think you are super happy with that one. Bernie, this game, this is the one that I feel like you've been at the most often. In this one, it was all pitching. And besides ZZ and Nick, when you look at the bullpens here, Owen Lewis, Caden Inman, Cam Bernstein, when you look at these guys, who was impressive to you besides Nick in this one, besides Nick and ZZ, that you thought had a great pitching on to keep the 0-0?
Yeah, look at some other guys. As for me, being a 12U guy, I was most impressed for Owen Lewis. I think just every outing he's went out there, he's gotten better and better against 13U guys. And, his elite control has been showing, right? His curveball and his fastball. And, he threw 3 innings of no-hit baseball as well, which is very impressive. No walks or no hits, I think, with a couple Ks in there. So I think he impressed me the most.
Yeah, I think ZZ walked the first 3 batters of the game, and then after that, the throwbacks did not allow a base runner that was a hit or a walk the entire rest of the game. So, again, great pitching from both sides, and I do think this BWL season has had a lot of high-scoring games, but not today. I mean, it was an absolute dominant pitching outing from those 2 guys. Moving into the B-League game, this was a Pinstripe victory. A nice win for them. KJ's been saying that if they can get their pitchers to throw strikes, they're going to be able to take care of business. And Ethan Portell was your pickup this week, and he wasn't necessarily perfect, but he did enough to keep the team in the game while he was out there. And then obviously the bullpen took care of business after that. KJ, give me your thoughts as you're piecing together the pitching staff for this team. What do you think about this win for this week?
Yeah, it was a good win. Obviously, the bats haven't really struggled. I mean, I think when those 3 pitchers from us got taken, we actually got better, with the bats. I mean, we added some big-time hitters. Evan Little has really hit well. Matthew Benderson's coming to that team, has hit well. ZZ Garcia's really stepped up. So a lot of guys stepping up hitting-wise, and what's been losing us games is no one's been stepping up pitching-wise. This past week, a lot of guys stepped up pitching-wise. Trevor Anderson was all over the zone. I don't think he had a walk. And multiple other guys stepping up, and we've had some good pickups, and it's starting to look much better on that team.
Yeah, it was a nice win for this one. It does seem like it's completely a team effort. I mean, so many different guys that maybe our unlikely sources have stepped up and contributed to this Pinstripe pitching staff, and I'm impressed with what you guys have been able to do. And we're going to talk about later in the matchups, the starting pitcher for this week, another guy that you kind of picked up and found who pitched really well for you in his last outing. So let's go ahead and move on to the A-League game. This was a close one for the most part, but ended up in a Pinstripe victory. This game, it just was the same story that the Pinstripes were just able to absolutely never give up a bat at bat. I mean, everybody through the lineup absolutely was taking great at bats, and they ended up blowing it out at the end because they were just relentless. I mean, even when the throwbacks tried to keep it close and maybe strike back in their inning, they just couldn't get out of an inning with only a couple runs. It just seemed like the Pinstripes coming up with big hit after big hit. KJ, this lineup, in my opinion, is the deepest lineup of any of the BWL teams. And even in that lineup, you got some guys who weren't necessarily from the get-go necessarily going to be huge contributors. I mean, you found guys, obviously we've talked a lot about Andrew Driscoll, Noah Hendricks, Joey Burgess, these guys who just keep stepping up. KJ, give me your thoughts on this A-League lineup that has allowed the team to be so successful.
Yeah, like you said, guys are stepping up. I didn't know how valuable, Joey Burgess one is going to be. And he wasn't great through the first couple weeks. The last 2 weeks, everything he's hit has been murdered. I didn't know how good Noah was going to be. I knew he was a great pitcher. I didn't know how good he was going to be offensively. Obviously, he's been a big deal. I drafted Andrew to be a good pitcher for me and a good defender. He hasn't really pitched much, but he's been a huge hitter for me. And then we got some superstars, Lucas Wilbur, Andrew Willeret, Ben Combs, all doing their jobs. I mean, like you said, anyone I put up in that lineup, I'm confident in.
Yeah, and then the 18U game. This one was a close game till the end. I believe it was a 2-run pinstripe victory. But again, another close loss for this Throwbacks team. And they've gotten blown out a couple times, but I think in the 7 losses that the Throwbacks have, I think 2 of them are blowouts, and then 4 of them are close. And then the other one, so I guess 3 blowouts, 4 of them were close, depending on how you define a blowout. But this team just continues to not be able to find ways to win it. And once again, had another great outing from Niall Guzman, who, again, like we talked about with some of the guys on the B League, a guy stepping up when you needed a pitcher. KJ, Niall's now had 2 dominant outings. Nobody can say that first one was a fluke because he did it again, right? Give me your thoughts on Niall. How's he been able to be so successful?
Yeah, Niall just keeps proving people wrong. A lot of people, some people get on BBN and say he's not going to do a great job and say he got lucky, and then he just goes out and proves them wrong. So he's just going to continue to do that, and he's been another guy who stepped up in a big way. We needed another pitcher, and Niall's done a great job.
Yeah, definitely cannot doubt him anymore if you were doubting him going into this one. So let's go ahead and get into this week's matchup. Week 9, obviously, getting into that playoff picture. When you're looking at this league, obviously the 18U team, the Pinstripes already have 2 runs on the board in the championship. The 15U A-League Pinstripes are looking to get a run on the board in the championship game. And then these other 2 leagues are very tight right now. Let's start with the 12-13U league. Bernie, last week you went 1-2-1 in your predictions. Your first losing day since week 1, I believe. Now you're at 29-2 on the season. So, Bernie, this 12-13U game, so far the Throwbacks are 4-3-1. The pitching match for this one, the Pinstripes are the home team. Avery McNicholas is going to be hosting, going up against Harrison Blabaum. Bernie, what do you think about this matchup here? Who do you got winning this one?
Yeah, I think just for me looking at these matchups, this is the toughest game for me to pick. I think Harrison proved himself out last outing, and they got some good guys coming in behind him, like Josh Tyler and those guys. But I don't know. This is the toughest game of the day. I'm just going to go with the Pinstripes even this series. I think these 2 teams are very even.
Yeah, every game in this series has been pretty tight, besides, I think, one. I think every other game has been super close, obviously indicative of a tie as well. And, yeah, I think this one, it's going to come down to, can the Throwbacks stay in the game when Harrison's on the mound? And like you said, Bernie, Harrison was very impressive in his last outing, so hopefully he can do it again in this one. Because the Throwbacks, if they lose this one, they're going to really be kicking themselves that they couldn't get a win with Easy on the mound. Moving into the B-League game, Josiah Leaker, who was that guy who just had a fantastic outing in his first one in relief, now getting the start in this one. He's going up against Lucas Perry. KJ, before I even get Bernie's prediction, Josiah, this guy was able to be super productive for your team in his last outing. What are you looking for out of him here? And do you see him really kind of solidifying this pitching staff?
So I think Josiah is so consistent that we already have a really good lineup. I think if he can just go 3 good innings, even if he allows 1 or 2, the offense is going to do their job. And I think, what Josiah gives you, he's going to throw strikes for me. And I'll have Logan Payback, who I know is going to throw strikes. So we're going to throw strikes this week. And so far, I think all of our wins, all of our losses have came from when we don't throw strikes. So we're going to throw strikes this week. So, that's all I have to say about that.
Yeah, so this league is 4-4 right now. Again, it was a Throwbacks win week 1, then a 3-game Pinstripe win streak, then a 3-game Throwback win streak, and then the Pinstripes took the last one. Bernie, how do you see the tide of this league right now? 4-4 right now. Who do you got taking the week 9 matchup?
Yeah, look, Josiah's second outing out there, he does great. He was very good his first time, but if Josiah just beats me because he throws shot the first reins, and I'll take it. I think the Throwbacks are just a better team. I'll give me the veteran Lucas Perry to win this game.
Yeah, Lucas Perry, he's kind of the opposite of some of the guys we talked about. He had a little bit of a rough first outing. Since then, he's gotten better each outing. So I could see Lucas Perry absolutely coming out and dominating here and hopefully giving the Throwbacks a well-deserved win. Moving into the 14-15U A League, this one 5-2, 5-2-1 on the season. These two teams have gone head-to-head. It's been a couple pinstripe blowout victories. The Throwbacks only have 2 wins, but they have a blowout victory. Every other game's been tight. Bernie in this one, Logan Eckert, really, I believe he's getting his first start here. He's been pitching mostly in relief, getting a big start here, going up against Evan Lancaster, who, despite being the younger player, has really pitched well. Bernie, who you got winning in this one?
Yeah, like you said, Evans pitched very well. He's proved himself that he can hang with all those guys. And Logan Eckert's first start, he's pitched very well out of the bullpen. But I think people forget this was our back-to-back Cy Young winner. I still think he's the best pitcher in the league, so I will go with the Pinstripes and Logan Eckert to get the win. This team just wins.
Yeah, this team continues to take care of business, and Bernie, I think definitely a safe prediction there to say the Pinstripes are going to take that one. Hopefully we can see some life out of these Throwbacks bats. And then finally, we have the 18U League. This one, 7-1, definitely the most lopsided league so far. The Pinstripes just continue to find ways to win, whether they've got Mac on the mound, whether they got Nye on the mound. It has not seemed to matter. The Throwbacks, even if they've had some competitive games, have not been able to get over the hump. Bernie, this week, Elliot Myers going for the Throwbacks. He'll face Brady Heck, who's hosting for the Pinstripes. Bernie, is this going to be another Pinstripe win to get to 8 wins, or do you see the Throwbacks maybe pulling out a miracle?
Yeah, look, man. There's been a lot of weeks here where I look at the pitching matchup. I've tried to catch the falling knife with the Throwbacks. When it's now versus Reese Payne, I try to bet against them because now it's pitching. I bet with the Throwbacks, and it just has not worked. So, with that being said, I know Elliott's pitching. Elliott's a great pitcher. Elliott could go out there and shove the first 3 innings, but somehow these Pinstripes are going to end up winning this game.
Yeah, I mean, that's what they've done so far. So, definitely, I think a safe prediction in that one, Bernie. So, Pinstripes, Throwbacks, Pinstripes are Bernie's calls for this week. Again, he is 29-2 on the season. Feeling very, very good. So, we'll see how that works out. We did have a BBN After Dark episode that premiered on Tuesday, so be sure to go ahead and check that out. We talked about a ton of different players. I had a list written down. I meant to bring it to the show. I believe we talked about like 24, 25 different players in depth. So a lot of different guys we talked about in that one, so be sure to go ahead and check it out. But that's going to do it for this episode of the Bears Baseball Network. And we'll talk to you all next week.